Hi, I'm Zach. This is Chasing Cars, and today we're talking about my Kia Sportage Hybrid long-termer. You may have already seen an introduction video on this car, but now it's time to do a final wrap on this vehicle over about 8,000 kilometers of touring. Because I've got so much to talk about, we're going to split this into two videos, part one and part two. In this part, I'm going to be talking mostly about what we've actually done with Filipe the Sportage over the 3-month period. I'm also going to start wrapping up by talking about our 5 hits and misses for this vehicle, what's worked and what hasn't worked over this 3-month tenure. But before I get stuck into today's video, make sure you like and subscribe as always to Chasing Cars. Chasing Cars, honest reviews of your next car. Brought to you by Budget Direct. So who and what is Filipe? Well, if you've seen the first video, I've been talking about how the number plate reads FEL39N. So I went with an obvious nickname, Filipe. This car is a GT-Line Hybrid. It's the top spec version and it's priced at around $60,500 drive away. Pretty expensive, but it has a lot of features. This car also comes as a SX hybrid as well. So when compared to the base SX, this GT line gets a different front fascia. It's got your 18-inch alloy wheels. It's got a panoramic sunroof as well, which is very handy. And also you get projector LED headlights at the front, a power tailgate and privacy glass, all part of that extra GT line package. Now for reference, Filipe the GT Line Hybrid is about $2,200 more expensive than a turbo diesel GT Line, or about $5,000 more expensive than a turbo petrol GT Line. So what exactly does Filipe compete against? Well, the main rival is of course the Toyota RAV4 Hybrid, but there's more in the market as well, such as the Honda CR-V and the Nissan X-Trail e-Power. It's a busy market, but I think this Kia Sportage is a good addition. Here at Chasing Cars, we take our long-term testing pretty seriously. I had an original goal of doing about 5,000 kilometers with Filipe, but we ended up doing almost 8,000 kilometers over 3 months. It's a really good effort. And with a little help from Deputy Editor Kurt Dupre, we were able to put those Ks on pretty easily. We did about 1,600 kilometers down to Bendigo and back, and then I took the car and went all the way up to the Sunshine Coast from Sydney, so that was around 2,500 kilometers. The rest of the time was spent daily commuting and driving around the busy Sydney streets. So we've done a pretty good overall picture of a long-term report for this Kia Sportage Hybrid. But I didn't drive this car just every day to work and back. I also did plenty of day trips on the weekend, including to places like Mollymook, which is about 3 hours south of Sydney. And I also had a bit of a camping trip. I put my swag and all my Eskies and equipment in the Sportage, and it was just a perfect companion. Really nice job. Hit number one for Filipe is a big one. It's cabin presentation and these awesome curved screens. Starting out with the screens, these are dual 12.3-inch units. They are very crisp, very clear, and very easy to use. I've just had an awesome time using this system over the last 3 months. I had family and friends comment on these screens. They just think it's a real hallmark of this interior. And I think it's really well put together, really well designed, and very, very functional. And one of the best things about this 12.3-inch system is the fact that it runs wired Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. But one of the good things about it is that Android Auto is huge on the screen, it's really high quality, and it's really easy to use. So all you have to do is plug in your phone and away you go. Now, talking about cabin presentation, this is the GT line, this is the flagship car. You do get a lovely leather steering wheel. There's a lot of nice elements around the place, especially this wood grain trim. It's not real wood, but it's the next best thing. You've also got a really soft driver's seat. It's leather and suede upholstered, which is lovely. And you also get a panoramic sunroof as part of this GT line package. So I think when you get in here, you're sort of expecting it to be, yeah, $60,000 worth of car. It certainly feels that way when you get in and you use all the systems. I just think it's a really lovely place to sit. It's also really well specified. There's heaps of features in here. You've got USB-C and USB-A ports up the front, as well as a 12-volt plug. You've got wireless charging. You've got heated and ventilated seats. That's pretty cool. And you also have 2 cup holders here, decent door bins, and one of the best features, I'm a massive Spotify fan, I love my music, this Harman Kardon sound system is a real peach. But although this cabin is really well presented, it isn't perfect, which leads me to miss number one. Miss number one is the use of too much piano black plastic around the place, especially in the center console here where it's just covered in piano black. I've been driving this car for 3 months and 8,000 kilometers. It's starting to look very smudgy, very dirty, and a bit icky, and I just don't think it's the right material choice for a center console. You also see it sort of around the dash and stuff too. I know it looks kind of good, but I don't think it's great long term, and I'd hate to see what this car looks like in 3 to 5 years with the normal wear and tear of a driver. Another small annoyance is the fact that this car only has wired versions of Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I was kind of expecting it to be wireless considering it's over $60,000. I think it's something that they should definitely improve on for the future. So hit number 2 is the fact that Filipe is a really spacious car. You open up the power tailgate, inside you get 586 litres of space with the seats in their upright position. You drop those down with the little side handles here, and it extends to 1,872 litres. It is huge with the seats down. I had enough room to put my big swag in there, no problem, along with an esky and all my clothes. I think it would be a perfect car, and if you had to move house, this would be a perfect option for a family. Also worth noting that underneath the floor is a temporary spare wheel, so that's a big bonus too. But miss number 2 for Filipe is the fact that you can only tow 1,650 kilograms braked with this car, which is significantly less than the GT-Line turbo diesel that can tow almost 2 ton. This means that you could take your family away on a trip and tow a trailer, but you're really going to have to watch the weight just because this doesn't have the highest towing capacity. So that's a wrap on part 1 of our 2-part series on the Kia Sportage Hybrid Long-Termer. I've already dived into exactly what we've done with Filipe over the last 8,000 kilometers of traveling, and I've also looked inside the interior and some of the hits and misses so far of this Kia Sportage Hybrid. But I've still got so much to say and cover with this long-termer. So in part 2, we're going to be looking at how this car drives, how its hybrid system works, and whether it's fuel efficient or not. Most importantly, I'm going to give you my verdict on whether I would recommend the Kia Sportage Hybrid over something like a Toyota RAV4 Hybrid. But I guess you're just going to have to wait to find out. In the meantime, make sure you like and subscribe to Chasing Cars.